Sa ibang balita, pinasalamatan ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte si dating Pangulong Fidel Ramos sa tulong nito para mapabuti ang relasyon ng Pilipinas sa China. Ipinahayag ito ni Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella matapos magbitiw si Ramos bilang Special Envoy to China. Ayon kay Abella, kinikilala ni Pangulong Duterte ang naging kontribusyon ni Ramos sa mahalagang usapin sa relasyon ng dalawang bansa.
The letter, which was submitted to the Office of the Executive Secretary, was itself civil and respectful, and I'd like to quote a few statements. Given that your state visit to the PROC was officially wide-ranging, which has resulted in renewed bilateral relations between our two countries, kindly allow me to step down as the Special Envoy of the President to the People's Republic of China. We'd like to believe that the efforts of our team of the Special Envoy played a modest but productive role in the breaking of the ice that led to your successful visit. This letter is my resignation as your Special Envoy to China, but more important, it is also an affirmation of my full support of the national interests and general well-being of our Team Philippines of 100.5 million Filipinos that you now lead.
Former President Fidel Ramos pushed President Rodrigo Duterte to run last elections. He helped in the campaign, earned praises and thanks from the president, who eventually appointed him Special Envoy to China. Then Ramos resigned, and President Duterte says he's accepted it.
First, I'd like to thank him for helping me and being of the service to the nation, even at his age.
Ramos may be a supporter of the president, but recently he's somewhat become a critic. His resignation came after his columns criticizing some of Mr. Duterte's policies. First, the former president said the administration's move to cut ties with traditional allies like the U.S. may not be in the best interest of Filipinos. He even said the Philippines was losing badly in the first 100 days of the president. More recently, Ramos criticized President Duterte's apparent opposition to the Paris Agreement on climate change, a deal which the president previously said he won't honor. Despite these, the tough-talking president says he has no hard feelings toward Ramos, who he says remains as his advisor.
Yes, of course. If he cares to listen.
Sir, in his...
Hindi naman siguro sabihin na nag-resign siya as a special envoy na hindi na ako makapagtanong sa kanya.
President Duterte says his position on the U.S. is just something Ramos doesn't understand. Mr. Duterte has repeatedly expressed dismay over the U.S.'s threat to cut aid to the Philippines for alleged human rights violations.
Ang akin is matter of honor. Di kami nagkaintindihan dyan. Maybe Ramos does not like it. Ibahin mo si Ramos, ibahin mo ako.
President Duterte admits to still having misgivings about the climate change deal, but he says he will follow recommendations his Environment Secretary and legal team will have on the Paris Agreement. In limiting carbon emissions, he finds the agreement unfair to countries which have yet to achieve full industrialization.
Tatayo ako ng industrial estates. There will be a lot of smoke there and pollution. Titignan ko lang na meron akong leeway, an elbow room to move.
The president says he wants a deal that's both good for the environment and country's economic development. Ina Andolong, CNN Philippines, Davao City.
Malacanang describes Mr. Ramos' resignation letter.
Samantala, tinanggap na ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ang pagbibitiw sa pwesto ni dating Pangulong Fidel Ramos bilang Special Envoy ng bansa sa China. Nagpasalamat naman ang Pangulo para sa serbisyo ni Ramos sa kabila ng kanyang edad.
Tinanggap na ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ang pagbibitiw ni dating Pangulong Fidel Ramos bilang Special Envoy to China.
Sabi niya, nagawa ko na yung gusto mo ko. Parang nagawa ko na yung gusto mong pagawa sa akin. Parang nauna siya to break the ice, use the word. I have broken the ice between, kasi hindi nga medyo maganda. Siya yung expeditionary force ko doon. Sabi niya na ibigay ko na sa nagawa ko na yung inutos mo sa akin.
Pinasasalamatan ng Pangulo si Ramos sa kanyang serbisyo sa kabila ng matandang edad. Pakikinggan din umano ng Pangulo ang payo ng dating punong ehekutibo, pero paninindigan niya ang kanyang matapang na paglaban sa korupsyon, droga at krimen bilang pagtupad sa kanyang pangako sa taong bayan kahit pa raw makulong siya dahil dito. Matatanda ang binatikos ni Ramos si Pangulong Duterte sa pag-atake nito sa Estados Unidos na nag-ugat sa pagbabanta ng nasabing bansa na puputulin nito ang ayuda sa Pilipinas kung hindi titigil ang extrajudicial killings.
Ang akin is matter of honor. Hindi kami nagkaintindihan dyan. It is all right for America to criticize me sa extrajudicial killing. Talagang maraming namamatay ngayon kasi ngayon nagtatrabaho ang pulis. Noon kasi hindi nagtatrabaho, nakihalo, nakisawsaw pa sa droga. That's one thing different. Everybody should realize that.
Isa rin sa mga pinuna ni Ramos ang pagtutol ng Pangulong kilalanin ng Paris Climate Change Pact. Pero nilinaw ng Presidente na wala pa talaga siyang desisyon kung makikiisa ba siya sa kasunduan o hindi.
I will follow what my advisors would tell me. If Gina Lopez would tell, if the National Pollution Control says it, it's good. And if the legal advisor says that I should sign, then I will sign.
Para sa PTV News, Ria Fernandez, Davao City.
President Fidel V. Ramos has resigned as the Philippines Special Envoy to China. President Rodrigo Duterte appointed Ramos as Special Envoy in July to thaw Philippines-China relations after years of tension over claims in the South China Sea. The moment the president came back from China from a successful state visit, I resigned as Special Envoy to China because the officials have taken over, Ramos said. I've done my job to break the ice and to help restore the ties of goodwill and friendship, he added in an interview after paying tribute to the departed Thai king during the Bulajilate at the Thai embassy in Montevideo City. Ramos made that disclosure after writing several opinion columns criticizing Duterte. In a column published by Manila Volante early this month, Ramos, on occasion of Duterte's 100th day in office, said the president did not hit the ground running during the first months of his administration. He said the government was stuck in unending controversies about extrajudicial killings of drug suspects and in his ability at using cuss words and insults instead of civilized language. Ramos, a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point, also chided Duterte for declaring a foreign policy independent from the U.S. Ramos said countries have become interconnected and that Duterte's independent foreign policy may not be the way to go. Duterte, shortly after his electoral victory, credited Ramos for convincing him to run for president. I still consider myself a part of the Duterte team whether they like it or not. But I am free to give friendly advice and that is part of our democratic culture, Ramos said. The former president said his newspaper commentaries were meant to help solve the country's problems. You must consider me an older brother of the big Filipino family because of my long service in government, Ramos said. I must be considered by everybody, including the present president, as an older brother of the family, he added. Those who wish the big Filipino family peace, sustainable development, progress and a place of respect and even admiration in the family of nations must get together and look for the best solutions to the problems, Ramos said. That is my attitude, he added. Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping in October had bilateral talks and reportedly discussed the overlapping claims in the South China Sea, particularly in the Scarborough Shoal. National Security Advisor Hermajan Zesperon said Duterte raised the issue of the Filipinos' traditional fishing rights at the Panatag Shoal with Xi. There was no expressed agreement, but it seems like the traditional rights of our fishermen are being respected, Esperon said in a phone interview with reporters. Filipino fishermen were already able to sail and fish at the Panatag Shoal days after Duterte returned from his trip to China. Esperon said no agreement was reached during the bilateral talks when Duterte raised the ruling of the Permanent Court of Arbitration upholding the country's exclusive economic zone and the Filipinos' traditional fishing rights. Zai, in turn, reportedly raised China's historical claims.